Dominaria United is about to officially launch, so here's my list with the top 5 most interesting commanders to build around. Knowing myself, this video will be just 1 or 2 days late, but what can you do? That's how the cookie crumbles. Anyway, before we go back to my top 5, here are a few honorable mentions. The first honorable mention is Elas Ilkor. If I gotta be honest, this commander almost feels like the strongest out of the set. Having an Ojanis welcome on the first passive of the mid-hook massacre from the command zone is very strong in aristocrat decks, but at the same time it is not all that exciting. You just do what you always do in aristocrats, but just a bit easier. 5 cookies for power, 1 cookie for excitement, 3 cookies overall. Xirak the Golden Sting has an interesting ability whenever you attack you get to put an egg counter on a creature, and when it dies you get to draw a card and create a 1/1 insect token. Initially I immediately thought of Matas, but since only you draw the card, this almost disqualifies Xirak from the potential of being a political commander. Then I thought, what if you put the egg on a creature you control? And there are already solid creatures in Junt and Rakdos that care about sacrifice, or have a sacrifice trigger on attack. The Victor's Asmari has one such trigger, and when you combine it with Syrah, if you stack the triggers correctly, you also get to draw a card and create her token immediately. Same thing goes for Corvold, if not even more so, wherein you put the egg on a creature, sack it to draw 2 cards and create an insect token that is already ready to be egged and sacked on the next turn. Wait, that sounds horrifying. Zeratora also deserves a mention here, as she allows you to sacrifice the egged creature to draw a card, and her ability also needs 3 treasures to boot. So why is Syrah not in my top 5? Well, because I feel she is the strongest in a Junt sacrifice shell, and the other 3 mentioned commanders offer you that free sacrifice and extra value on their own. For this reason I think she is best suited in the 99 with a different commander at the helm. Overall, 3 out of 5 cookies. Coming up at number 5, I decided to put Jorah Aegis Innovator. I have already done a deck tech video about her that you can check out if you want. I think she is an exceptional artifact commander that can be built in many different ways. I am putting her only at number 5 as I do believe she is one of the most interesting commanders out of the set and deserves to be included, but it would be too biased of me to put her number 1. Regardless, 5 out of 5 cookies for Jorah. At 4th place I put Mary Scholar of Antiquity. Usually when one hears Gru, artifacts are not the first thing that comes to mind, but Mary is here to break from the mold in the most unique way possible. Who am I kidding? It's stacks. It is Gru stacks. Yeah, this is where we are now. Technically, her ability to tap a non-token artifact to add green mana, or tap 2 to impulse draw, can be used in any artifact strategy, but the obvious synergy with some of the best known stacks artifacts is just too good to pass up. Just imagine. Winter Orb, Static Orb, Storage Matrix and even Trinisphere will work for your opponents, but when you tap them for mana at the end step before your turn, they won't work for you. It's just so good.
So good.
By the way, have you heard about this new mana rock that can tap to add green mana, and also draw an extra card each turn? Talk about power creep. Blinkmode Urn is still played sometimes in artifact builds, but with Myriad the downside of giving our opponents mana is entirely negated. And when you take into account that some rather impressive hate pieces are already in Myriad's colors, the deck practically builds itself. Overall, very strong commander, unique ability and deck building potential, but feels a bit limited in the choice of overall strategy. Overall, 4 out of 5 artifact cookies. Zur Eternal Schemer comes up at number 3. When I saw his card I immediately thought of Cedric Galvanic Genius, as she was my first deck I ever built on my own. Zur has a similar effect but for enchantments, with one notable difference. His activated ability to animate an enchantment, and thus giving it lifelink, death touch and hexproof, is less color intensive and gives one very important keyword: hexproof. While obvious synergy with Teros gods and other enchantment creatures are obvious, the ability to animate and more importantly protect a key enchantment is rather interesting and offers variety of paths for deck building. From the more fun and casually orientated classics such as Starfield of Nick's Opalescence Wholesome Beatdown, to Valor Generation 2 Harrod Haunting, CGO the Empty Throne, Shark Typhoon and Mind's Dilation. Perhaps you would prefer a darker path by becoming a Lich Lord with Lich's Mastery type enchantments, to live on the edge by animating your lifelink death touching hex-proof phylactery, to attack for 6 and just bask in card draw. Or perhaps you have finally solved the quandary whether you should move to another format and ended up deciding that you don't mind the fact that you won't be playing AGH with your friends ever again. 4.5 out of 5 cookies, and I'll go cry in a corner because Zoe gives hexproof and Cedric doesn't. Khazezor Shaper of Sand is another commander that I made video about, but more importantly he is the first desert commander ever printed. Apart from making history, Khazezor is surprisingly strong and versatile commander, offering variety of abilities and possible directions in deck building, being landfall, warrior tribal, tokens, even land destruction is a possible option, since with him you can easily replay your deserts from the grave. If anyone asks, you didn't hear this from me though. 5 out of 5 cookies. This set has already given us 2 legendary commanders in the face of Rata Drabek of Urborg and Joda the Unifier, but there is something special in Kadrik's Soul Kindler. Maybe because he reminds me of Inala, or because that first line of text is reminiscent to one of my favorite cards, but I started to brew around him the moment I saw his card. And let's just say I got the feeling that this deck is gonna be...
Audience, say it with me, legendary!
Just think about it. Why pay 7 mana to exile a permanent, when you could do it for just 1 using the new BFFs Kadrik and Mangara of Corridor? I hear Starcroft Ruff also wants to join the crew, and even if his conjured clone tries to defect, it won't be for long. Maybe you just like huge beaters, like Yilhad the Race Boar, Dracosev Maw of Flame, or Aurelia the War Leader to get 2 extra combat phases for those times where someone really needs to be eliminated. Or perhaps the value of Italia Primal Storm and Atsushi Blazing Sky is more of your jam. Or maybe, just maybe, you prefer Yosei the Morning Star for those special moments where you've lost to someone's deck 3 times in a row and want to give them a piece of your mind. Oh, by the way, what if you could do this every turn? After all this, if Kadrik can't rekindle your love for Boros, I don't know what can. 5 out of 5 legendary cookie tokens. Good things the legendary rule doesn't apply. Well, these were my top 5 picks for the most interesting commanders from Dominaria United. Do you agree with it? Which commander is your top pick? Tell me in the comments below. Cheers!